USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This is a quote I made up. Please quote me on this, but I love it. It's every do is a redo, right?
Oh, yes.
Every do is a redo and a redo and a redo. I have always admired your tenacity.
Oh, that is so sweet of you. It could be that sign. Is it the Nietzsche quote I have on the door?
What's that?
That
the Nietzsche
it's not
quote?
it's not about brilliance. It's about sheer perseverance. Yeah.
Showing up, showing the blanking up.
Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Andrew Rimby, aka Andrew. Thank you so much for listening to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcasts. And before you hear today's episode, which I just know you're going to love, can you please do me a favor? And wherever you're listening, if it's Spotify or Apple, please rate and review us. Make sure you're following the podcast. Share it with friends, family, anyone you think would just love hearing this conversation. And you can watch our podcast on YouTube. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. It's called the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and you'll see the video episode. So please make sure you like the video you're watching and comment. I always respond to the comments. Also, we have a Patreon. So if you don't want any of the ads and you want bonus material, join our Patreon. There's a 1-week free trial. It's patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And the free trial is for the professor level. Without further ado, here is today's exciting episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Now, for a change of pace here, I'm so excited because this is the first ever Teaching College English and Writing episode. So I am so excited to be joined with a mentor of mine who I've known at Kane University since I was an undergrad student. So we're going back to like 2012. Then I went to get my PhD at Stony Brook, and she was always a launching pad for any question I had. And now she's a colleague of mine. So Dr. Jan Valakian, Jan, welcome as my co-host. Love having you here.
I'm now Andrew's student, and he's always too generous with me. I learn more from him than he does from me. So it's a delight to have him as colleague, as well as my new colleague, Amina.
Yes, Amina is our production assistant here. So hi, Amina, who's listening in on the episode. So I think, Jan, it's really fitting that our first guest to launch the series was an educator, professor at Kane University. So I want to introduce you all to the incredible Susanna Rich, Dr. Susanna Rich, who, before we hit the record button, said you all out there can also call her glamorous, beautiful. She is the recipient of the Presidential Excellence Award for Distinguished Teaching at Kane University, where she taught for 32 years. So we have a lot to pick Susanna's brains with. Coordinated the basic writing program, taught such courses as Shakespeare, Emily Dickinson, Virginia Woolf, writing about literature, creative writing, critical approaches to literature, and also taught faculty teaching college writing, served as the coordinator of humanities at Sussex County Community College, founded the Critical and Creative Thinking program at Melbourne and Short Hills Public Schools. She is the author of 4 editions of the internationally adopted textbook, The Flexible Writer, and the popular blog on teaching and literature, at becauseicanteach.blogspot.com. She is professor emerita and currently teaches deep revision, an online course through Tiferet Journal, and coaches former students who have become acclaimed teachers in their own right. Okay, well, I think we should just be so gracious that you're in our presence. This is incredible, Susanna. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here. Talking about teaching is one of my very favorite things in the world to do. And for me, when I taught, it was not so much not only the field, the literature that I was, but always thinking about what's happening not only in the classroom and what that dynamic does, but also what the creative and critical thinking that goes on in individuals, and most importantly, my relationship as coach, because
Yes.
I have been very fierce, and I still am, about subverting the power imbalance between teacher and student.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of myself as a coach, from if we use a baseball metaphor, from right field, I'm there. And in the classroom, I was always happiest when, let's say there was a small group going around, small groups, and I would go to a small group, and they were so immersed in the work and each other that they kind of told me to go away. And that to me was the epitome of, I have done my job today.
So, how has it been, Susanna? Like something that we're always so curious about teaching is this new age of technology. Like, is there anything, because you are so immersed in wanting to subvert that power dynamic, do you feel like over the years of your teaching, things have changed when it comes to just the technology addiction, we could call it, or reliance? Like, are there ways that you've tried to work through that over your years?
Absolutely. And I am also an addict. Technology is there not for us, but to proliferate itself. So the phones are there to proliferate more phones. I mean, that's the way it is with almost anything. And so I would often ask my students to take a weekend off from their phones. And we use this as experiment. And they would often come back and say, wow, I talked to my mother. I went to church. I took a walk. I did my reading. So we often did experiments like that. And in the classroom, absolutely no phones. And in fact, I asked my students, and most of them complied, that even during a break, don't run off into the bathroom and catch up on your email. And so I love technology. Here we are using Zoom. It's fabulous. I compose so much of my own poetry and work on the computer, but everything has its place. And again, this whole idea of who's in power, who's empowered. Am I here to serve the technology, or is it here to serve me? And so that becomes part of our critical thinking, because why? We're reflecting on our process, just as I hope that, and when I'm in a teaching situation, that I am modeling, reflecting on my own process, just as I'm doing this second.
Should we jump in with any questions while Susanna's talking, or do you want us to save
Oh,
them?
go. No, Jan. Yeah, go ahead.
So my conflict is whenever I ask students to put away their phones, first of all, they do not. And then I feel like I'm being mean. But secondly, we're asked to use Canvas as our platform, so they feel they need to have their computers open in the classroom. So it feels like we're asking them to do contradictory things, and I'm wondering if there's a solution.
Well, I am fortunate in that I was able to leave teaching to commit myself to full-time writing and performing. So I was right on the edge of that. So I'm very happy that I didn't have to get into Canvas, because for me, teaching is very, very much an in-person hands-on, hearts-on experience. So, once I close the classroom, it becomes a Socratic experience. There were times when I had us walk around the classroom perpetrating just like Socrates did. So I cannot speak with any authority about Canvas. All I can say is that I was very vocal with my students about technology. And again, we did our experiments. And I don't believe in grading. I don't want to get too graphic here, but I don't believe in grading every bodily function, that somebody has, like a burp or whatever. And I'm afraid that what has happened is that left brain thinking and left brain functioning has taken over. One of the things that, when you were talking about critical thinking, is that when I started that program, I was one of the first people who was teaching critical thinking and creating programs for it. And for me, creative and critical thinking must go together.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have this overlording of left brain linear functioning that is patriarchal, that is not, doesn't take in the whole person, right? And that's why, one of the questions that we were entertaining was, why is it so important that we have critical thinking? So, Jan, I cannot speak to the Canvas. All I know is that I really believed in no phones, and I did not let my students argue with me about it.
And how did you
I
get
just
them?
didn't.
Like I've had a student push it to the other corner of their desk. They couldn't separate themselves any further than that. I don't know what to do.
Well, I don't know if we can, we're talking about therapeutic stuff. I'm not sure. I'd have to know the person. I'd have to know what's in you as a teacher, because very often our own emotional stuff comes up in the classroom just as it does for them. And becoming conscious of that and talking about it. So it's possible that I don't know, but it's possible that there's something in you that reflects them not wanting to do that. But Jan, we can get on the phone and talk about that.
Yeah, there's always going to be more lingering.
Yeah, but
questions.
one of the things that students only learn who I am. I would love to think that they are, oh yes, Susanna said, and Susanna said. No, they learn who I am. And so when they see me being excited about a word in Shakespeare, that's what they're learning, the excitement. And that's an energy exchange. Right?
Yes, Susanna's
So
always a big proponent.
I was very confident
Mm-hmm.
in my sense that we are not going to have the phones in the classroom. And sometimes I had to work with somebody one-on-one, and there have been situations when the addiction, and we talk about addiction in classroom. That we decided that this was not the right course for them or the right teacher, and then we just said goodbye, and that was a learning experience, right? That you don't have, just because you show up the first day on class doesn't mean you have to stay. This is, you have to shop a little bit the first day. So I would tell them the first day, this is who I am. And if this doesn't work for you, I will miss getting to know you, but this is it.
And I love what you say. If you could speak a little, because I'm curious, Susanna, when you say hands on, hearts on, I think that's really powerful mantra of sorts of
Yes.
what you believe as your pedagogy and as an educator. And I'm just curious, like, does that also for you connect to the mission of humanities? Like, is that really the empathy, the critical reasoning? Like, is that
Yes.
part of it?
Yes, very, very, very much so. There is, if I can speak to, and this will lead to some, brushstroke about politics. William Perry, and every time I would use a theoretical thing about teaching, I would bring it to the classroom. That's why I have so many successful teachers now. As my I have now grand students through them. William Perry did a wonderful study. Unfortunately, it was only through with Harvard males. Later
Mm.
on, Belenky et al. did the same study with women. But let me just get to him. There's the intellectual and moral development. These are the stages, and they are
Mhm.
linear. One is dualistic,
Hmm.
and that is everything is binary. So, it's, George W. Bush says, I don't do gray. Well, that's the dualistic position. It's either right or wrong. When we looked at deconstruction in our critical theories course on literature, I showed everybody that every word implies its opposite. So if I say male, that implies there's female. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. And so the trouble with language is that it also hierarchizes that. So it puts male over female. It puts
Mhm.
straight over gay. It puts white over black. And this is where the political horrors begin if you stay in that dualistic period. And what goes along with the dualistic period is they love authority. Okay, are we seeing where I'm going here, right? So they love authority, and the authority will tell them right and wrong, will tell them this, and it's a kind of a, because I mean the Buddhists talk about how everything is always changing, everything is always anxiety. It's comforting to think that there is a one God. There is comforting to think that there is an authority who is strong and willful and this, that. Okay, so that's a dualistic period. The next one is the sophomores, right? So that's relativism. And it's anarchy. So a student will come in, and I've been writing poetry for over 50 years and teaching for over 40 years. And I will make a suggestion, and the students will say, well, that's your opinion. As if everybody's opinion is equally informed.
Mhm, mhm.
And this is relativism, and this is where people don't want to don't want to look at the clock. They don't want to. So it goes from one thing of total authoritarianism to total, hanging loose. All right. So that's sophomores. The next level is a leap. And what is true and what is right, right? I mean, intellectual and moral development, what is true, what is beautiful, what is right. Okay. So is contextualism. And this is where, well, black over, black over white. That's looking, that's switching that white over black. Do you know? And this is where we have humanitarian coming. Do you see? Where we don't buy into the dualistic one over the other. The authority tells me conventional cliches and other four-letter words.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Like you're subverting basically that authoritarian, totalitarian
Absolutely.
model of like only the instructor has the knowledge and I will
Exactly.
give you the information.
Perfectly,
Yes.
perfectly put together. And so that's why, and then after contextualism, well, it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
You get a commitment to contextualize, and
Mm.
that is the top. A commitment to doing that and not falling back into the other positions. Now, this was very much male students, male researcher. By the way, Amina, I love that you are here, and I hope you will ask any questions. Your face is so bright and is so connecting. All three of you are just fabulous. But anyhow,
Aw.
so the Belenky and others, women, studied women, and they found that there were more positions. And the first position was silence. Next
Mm.
is external authority. And the second one is everything, all knowledge and goodness is received, what you're told, right? Okay, we know this, right? Um, then there's a split. Women tend to, or those of us who have a more balanced male female, right, will have that intuitive subjective. But how is somebody reacting emotionally here? What's the energy here? Okay, now the pure male is procedural, which is, And let me just say this, that follows completely the male-female physiology. The male physiology is the penis. And, I have to find the vagina. I have to find that hole. I have to get to it as soon as I can. Let's go through there. I don't care how people feel. I don't care what's going on. Boom, right? The female is the womb, right? Embracing, not only what's in something, but what's around it. So, the female goes into subject, it's a procedural, and of course, at the end, for them too, it's contextual, commitment to contextual.
It sounds
And
very like
yeah,
psychoanalytic in form. Like, is
oh,
your
very much.
teaching analytic inspired?
Yes, my dissertation was on the process I went through in writing a novel, and I was also going through psychotherapy at the time. And what I wanted to do is to look at the psychoanalytic theories of the creative thinking process.
Wow, that's
So,
fascinating.
like,
It's
why
very fascinating. Yeah.
psychology is,
Yeah.
see, there's the subjective, intuitive, pull them all together. What's the context kind of thinking?
So I don't know why I always want to go to like the nitpicky, not of you, Susanna,
Oh,
not
just
of you, but
knit
of
away. I've been at this for 50 years. I know how to cope with knits.
no, 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 but
Now that it's summer officially, you know what that means. Beach reads. Well, I have the perfect magazine if you just don't know where to begin when it comes to which books to add to your to be read pile. The Gay and Lesbian Review is an incredible magazine that features book reviews, TV, film reviews, and such well researched articles. It's all about LGBT arts and culture. Make sure you head to glreview.org and you're going to see they have other magazines as digital issues. Use the promo code ITBR Choice and you get a free issue of the magazine. Their new theme is the situation. And in this issue of the magazine, it's all about connecting the current political moment, which every day we know takes a twist and a turn, and how LGBT rights, it's not the first time, sadly, that they've been threatened in America. If you don't know, look up the Lavender Scare and McCarthyism, and you'll see that government employees who were found to be homosexual or suspected to be homosexual were threatened and fired, a lot of them from their jobs. Also, there's an article about the Weimar Republic and censoring Magnus Hirschfeld's incredible sexology research in Germany. There's also an interview with the incredible trans writer and activist Jennifer Finney Boylan, whose book Cleavage just came out. And of course, the last issue was all about Dr. Jonathan D. Katz's First Homosexuals exhibit. So I hope you enjoy your reading. And if you have any questions or you just want to gush about what you're reading in the Gay and Lesbian Review, please DM me.
of that patriarchal administrative level. I'm just curious, and maybe Jan has been witness to this too,
Uh,
having been your colleague,
uh,
how with such a liberating, I want to be one of your students and a fly on the wall to see what happened in your courses, because I feel like you offer such a exciting model of how to be an English and writing educator. I'm just curious, did you face backlash? Like when administration or anyone was observing, like, do you feel that you had more freedom to do that later in your career, or were you always kind of testing the boundaries?
so you're asking me, Andrew?
Yes, yes, you, Susanna. Yeah.
All right. I open the classroom door. I greet my students. I close the classroom door. That is my place. And we had a really draconian administration before Rehoboth. It was really bad. I called him Osama Putin Hitler. Um, yeah, he was really awful. But again, so, he would do things like we professionals were supposed to do timesheets. No problem. I made a template. I changed it a tiny bit. It took me all of 5 minutes every week. There's my use of technology. And I ignored it. When I thought that an assessment, and this is controversial. When I thought an assessment was ass assessment, I ignored it. I made up numbers, and you know what? They never looked at them anyhow. So I was right. Because
Mm.
why? I had Jorge to talk to. Janine needed a hug. Jan and I wanted to go to Smashburger. There was life. And so I modeled for them. I mean, I am a rebel. I always will be a rebel, but I try to be smart about it.
Mm.
Give them, I think about all the great sages. I mentioned Buddha. I can mention Christ now, render unto Caesar what, right? And meanwhile, I closes the classroom a door, and we put on pajamas. We have poetry and cookies. Going back to politics, one of my favorite lessons was when the current president and and the Honorable Hillary Clinton were both up for election, and I brought out Coriolanus. That's a Shakespeare play. And I divided the class in half. And I said, okay, the commoners, you will act as Hillary. And the power mongers, you will act as this current 47 thing. I know you know my top politics. And then they would have debates together. And then I switched them. So the people who were supporting commoners with Hillary now went the other way. And it was very, very instructive. But again, rebel, work it out. We all came down on the side of angels, thankfully. But we contextualized, we did critical thinking. See, critical thinking, the word for me comes from a long tradition going back to the ancient world, meaning question. Ask the question. Ask the question. Pose questions. Whenever I was teaching the essay and somebody would get stopped, I said, turn your previous sentence into a question and see what happens. And it just kept on generating.
I think it's amazing, Susanna. Like, I'm learning so much from you. I feel that it's wonderful to know that you were always also something that I love doing too is showing your students your cards, like showing your students where you're getting your pedagogy or informing them on critical thought or theories, like breaking it down for them that it's understandable and that it's not something out of their reach. Like, you're going to understand what phenomenology means because I'm
Yeah,
going to explain that it's something that you're doing already, which is looking
yeah,
around you in your
yeah.
space.
When you think about the old historicism literature, it was all patriarchal. I mean, I love how you just keep me going, it was all patriarchal. There was no sense of switching those binary oppositions. The new historicism does exactly what you're saying, which is to question, what is the effect of my background on looking at this piece of data and how I put that together into making his or her story or they story. I just made that up.
Yeah.
So, and also there's another thing I always said to my students, if I don't learn something in this particular class meeting that we have here, if I don't learn something, then it's not been a good class.
Mm.
Jan was saying, that she learns more from you, I mean, and it's the king and I,
That's
getting
true.
to know you, all that stuff.
I love that song. I love Rodgers and Hammerstein. And I'm just curious because, it's not always going to be the case that Jan or myself know the person who's our guest. But I'm curious if, like, both of you went through something like a teaching moment or like advice that either Susanna, you taught Jan, or Jan, you taught Susanna, like that type of collaborative spirit in education. Like, do you both remember a lesson or a moment like through your years at Kane that you were able to work through together?
Well, Jan, one of the things that I learned from you,
I can't imagine.
well, if I don't learn something, then it's not been good. Is your tenacity.
Oh boy.
Oh boy,
Don't give me that
tenacity
one.
and perseverance is one of the things that we teach our students.
Oh
Because
boy.
things, you know what? This is a quote I made up. Please quote me on this, but I love it. It's every do is a redo,
Mm,
right?
Oh yes. Oh,
Every
like a
do is a
poet.
redo and a redo and a redo. I have always admired your
Oh, that
tenacity.
is so sweet of you. It could be that sign. Is it the Nietzsche quote I have on the door?
What's that?
what's
That
the Nietzsche quote?
it's not about brilliance. It's about sheer perseverance. Yeah.
Mm,
Showing up, showing the blanking up, showing up, showing the blanking up.
yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say, if you ever want to curse on this podcast, that's okay.
Well,
But
I believe that's another thing. I hate elitism.
mm,
I hate elitism. I'm a Democrat. I'm a woman. I hate elitism. So and I also, as a Hungarian, the Hungarians are are world class cursors.
mm,
I mean, they have horses, cocks, and
Oh, that's
goose
too funny.
diarrhea and all this stuff. So I always talked, if the word fuck came up, and I also don't think I need to use it only when appropriate. If I just feel like it.
yeah, you can eat chicken paprikash and also curse at the same time.
Oh, can I ever?
My grandmom is Hungarian, so
Oh,
you
Andrew.
would appreciate this.
Oh, Andrew. So you know about the horse's cock thing.
Yes.
If not, I'll teach
Not
you.
well, my grandmom didn't share the horse's cock information with me, but I'm sure if you
Ah,
talk to her, she'll know.
well, if you want to do a podcast on Hungarian cursing, I volunteer.
The next time, I think that would be very interesting for all of us. But I'm so excited. Amina has a question for you, Susanna. So I would love to
Oh,
bring
goody.
her on to the
Oh,
chat.
goody.
So
Goody.
Amina, please go away and ask.
Reading. Oh my goodness. I'm just like, I'm in awe, floored. So my question as an undergrad is because I'm always in these spaces, I feel like with professors who are maybe doing the opposite of what you're doing,
Oh, yeah.
really trying to
Hmm.
establish that professor-student boundary. And, it would be a much safer space where students are much more interested in what the discipline has to offer if that was erased like how you were doing it when you were still in the classroom. So I'm wondering what advice you have for professors who are afraid to take the leap to show themselves and their hearts and create a more connected learning environment. And maybe it's just, before you answer, maybe it's just because they're afraid of the students or they're afraid of the technology and this boundary. Like when we all have our computers open, it makes everything feel so clinical.
Yeah.
Like we're all here typing on our
Me.
computers. And so
Touch
what
me.
advice do you have for professors who are, they're afraid to break the mold, I guess, and
Mm.
just be themselves in the classroom?
Okay. Number one, we cannot change anybody else.
Hmm.
I don't,
Mm.
what the trouble is that people go into teaching, especially college teaching, because they know their field, but they don't know anything
Hmm.
about interaction dynamics, don't know
Hmm.
anything about creative and
Hmm.
critical thinking inside of a human being. And Virginia Woolf said that the problem is always, and I quote, the damned egotistical self. Too many teachers,
Mm.
and I'll tell you, come to the classroom to feed their egos. And one of the things that I could never abide, and it really made me furious, is the teachers would come out and start bad mouthing the students.
Mm.
Wow,
Instead
that's
of
amazing.
instead of being where the
That's
students
amazing.
are, they inflated their egos, and it pissed me off. Because why? I come into a classroom. I love the literature. I see my students. We are creating a conversation together. I'm not
Mhm.
here to be, I'm not here to to take care of my needs. You know, actually let me take that back. By being honest, by taking care of myself, like I never assigned books that I didn't want to read all the way through.
Yes.
Because if I don't want to read it, they certainly not going to want to read it.
Nope.
So we can't change them, Amina. What can we do as students? One, look at your teachers the first week. Know what you're looking at. And see if you can switch. Talk to other students about what the teachers are like. It's so humiliating as a student to go in and know that I have to answer the question. I have to do, guess what the teacher's thinking. That is really terrible. It's really terrible. So the thing is always, and you know, I hope I'm modeling some of that, take care of yourself. You know, you know by your guts, this is another one of those egomaniacs. You know, this one is really rigid. You know, this one, you know, first day. So take care of yourself because you can't change anybody else.
Wow.
And don't give them excuses. Oh, well, maybe they're afraid. That's their problem, not your problem.
That's what Susanna taught me. That's what Susanna taught me. So I came, this is how old I am, I came up during the era of the white male professors who came out of World War II, right? And they stood at the lectern. They gave these eloquent lectures. We would then write it out in our notebooks and then transfer it to blue books for our midterm and our final. And I know that I always felt, and here's where Susanna helped me, that if I were not delivering that kind of polished lecture, that I was being either uninformed or lazy. Wow. So I think Susanna helped me see that it's the questions that we ask and the probing that make for a great class. She helped me get rid of that guilt that I had to be the super scholar to stand before the class. Yeah.
I mean, I know you said we would do a half an hour, but I want to make sure I get this point.
Oh, please keep going, Susanna.
Okay, because it's about love. Love of the literature, self-love.
That's so nice. Yeah. Oh.
Love of the students, you know, love of the community that each classroom is. That's what it's about. That energy is what it's about. And we're all just too much, you know, egomaniacs, white supremacy, you know, male supremacy, straight supremacy, all that bullshit. And we have to find a way to find the love. I mean, we are now going through hell.
Yes. Absolute
hell. But today I get to talk to you about what I love. And that's the way I'm a rebel.
And that's,
I think students first, material second, professor last.
Well, again, you know, they're going to learn who you are. So if you're too selfless, they're going to, I love this piece of literature so much. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Don't assign anything you don't want to read. And don't assign anything you feel like you have to study. One of my favorite classes, you asked this question, one of my favorite classes, for some reason, this was many years ago, I couldn't read the story that I had assigned. So I went into the classroom and I said, I'm going to do an experiment. And the kinds of questions I asked is, first, did you like it? Why did you like it? Did you like it because you think you should like it? You know, I would call them on stuff like, I could tell what's going on here. If you didn't like it, what didn't you like? Now, I don't believe in asking who's the main character because that's BS. That's again goes to, I've got to get what the teacher wants me to think. High school torture. All right. I said, if you would choose a character that you think is most interesting or most generative in this story, what would it be? And by the end of the class, I figured out what the story was. But it was totally run by what their reactions were. And that really taught me a great deal about stepping back and how to ask questions. We want them to love literature, not to regurgitate something. I mean, if I don't learn something in this class, like, why would I want to be with you?
Exactly. Yeah. I was recently watching Return to Oz and Nosferatu with my fiance, and I thought, wait, I just had on Broadview Press authors who wrote a vampire literature anthology and the iconic edition of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So I said to my fiance, you know what? I need to tell everyone who's listening to ITBR that BroadviewPress.com has everything from classic novels to discussions about vampire literature, vampires in film and TV, the philosophy of sports, Native American culture, horror. There is so much on Broadview Press's website. I urge you all right now, search broadviewpress.com. You will see that not only do they have books for college instructors, which if you do teach college, you better add them to your list because it's amazing, all the resources they have. But if you have just wandered around a bookstore or a library and thought, everyone always told me to read Moby Dick, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to fully understand it. Broadviewpress.com has you covered because they have amazing notes and sources to help you dissect that huge whale of a tale. See what I did there? I was just watching the Page Master, so there's a little Moby Dick reference. Head to broadviewpress.com, use the exclusive code they gave us, Ivory Tower, 20% off your entire order. Yes, your entire order. Enjoy your reading, and please reach out to me and let me know what you're reading from Broadview Press. I would love to share it on social media.
Are you a fan of classic Hollywood movies?
Are you a fan of queer cinema?
Then do we have the podcast for you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christian Garcia.
And I'm Luke Del Mar.
And we are your hosts of That Old Gay Classic Cinema, where we take a look at some of the greatest films of all time and analyze them through a queer theoretical lens.
Let's be honest. LGBTQIA plus people have been a part of Hollywood since its inception, and this podcast celebrates those artists and entertainers of yesteryear while also taking a closer look at the queer-coded characters and stories in classic Hollywood films long before queer representation entered the mainstream.
So follow us down the road of classic cinema as we give you a guide to some of the films that touched our hearts, brains, and even gave us courage to be ourselves.
You can listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
All right, listeners, we're ready for our close-up.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast Gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast Gems.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo Pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
And I feel that you're even inspiring, this is what I love about this series is you're inspiring me to do something new in the fall, which is maybe even a sign, or not even a sign beforehand, but read aloud a short story or a poem that I'm not inspired by,
Yes,
and like say to my
absolutely.
students, this doesn't really, just because I love literature, it doesn't mean I love all literature, and I'm not really getting this right here. So let's read it aloud, and I want you all to give your interpretations
Ah,
and thoughts.
beauteous, totally beauteous. Love it. Love it. It's going to be very interesting. Anytime, I mean, I'm a creative, when people ask me what my values are, health, love, creativity, big time, right? And creativity, critical and creative thinking is asking questions, tossing the pickup sticks up into the air and see where they land. Turn the thing, like for example, when I'm writing a poem, very often I will turn it inside out like a sock, which means that the first line becomes the last line, the penultimate line. I turn it inside out like a sock, and it's really interesting what happens. So how in a classroom do we turn the sock inside out?
Yeah. Well, and like Susanna, when you're teaching, say, a canon or something like I've talked with Jen a lot about because I'm teaching world literature and there's so many models, is something that
Yeah,
I did was do a new method for myself, which was something that my professors were really relying on the Western canon of, white male authors. But I thought, well, what if I teach Wicked? What if I teach Song of Achilles? What if I teach texts that are contemporary and then look at the past instead
it's
of
still
like
world. It's still world.
it's still world, exactly. And like I think that there's some, right, you're always going to have some faculty who kind of raise their eyebrows and think I'm not sure what you're doing,
Well, it's none
but
of your business. It's none of your business, except when they
Yeah,
come
you should
to serve
always
you.
teach what you're passionate about because that's going to work the best.
Absolutely, because you know why? They don't learn what you say. What are you going to what will you take away today? I'm not sure you're going to take away any quote from me, but I think you'll take away my love. So
so I guess like one of the final questions, even though I know Susanna, we could like pick your brain for another 6 hours, is
Our
um like what for you does English, like what is its main purpose in your opinion? Like why is it something that you just keep going back to?
well, I want to question your question
Yeah.
because you said main. And
Hmm.
whenever we talk about in this the main point, the main character, we are we are already hierarchizing.
Hmm.
So I would question your question. The question I can respond to is why English? Just plain why English?
Yes.
Um, I did not speak English until I was 5. I come from immigrant parents. My mother and father divorced when I was 5 months old. And you know what? The story that I'm telling you, every student, especially our students at Kane, come in with these kinds of stories. Okay. So anyhow, um, and uh, and so English was to be able to transition into English to become part of this world was my way of bridging what my parents went through, which is to be in exile, to have their lives threatened in Eastern Europe in the Second World War. What my father was a Nazi collaborator. That's another thing.
Hmm.
So, transitioning to English is transitioning away from that and then to use English to go back and try to go back with the use of language to understand, to become more whole. There's another model that I use, which is Abraham Maslow's stages of development.
Hmm.
And, to be able to talk about what I need to talk about to survive, then there's a certain kind of literature I'll be drawn to and a certain kind of literature I will write. Like, for example, I wrote a whole book on my father's collaborations and poetry about the victims and so forth. And it goes up the chakras, it goes up the development. So why? Because I want to live more fully. And why English? Because this is the place that we came to be saved. I'm afraid that right now we are learning how people in Germany and Eastern Europe, what they had to cope with. And it scares me. It scares me. So it's for life, it's for love, it's to be a whole human being, to break silence, to have fun. I love playing with language. I'm starting a whole new way of writing poetry, and it's kooky and crazy, and I think insightful. It's fun.
Wow.
And also it's something I could do with other people, so it's social. So it's, what, my answer is everything.
No, an amazing answer, Susanna. Well, this has just been such a pleasure. And, is there anything, website you want to share, social media where people can find you?
Sure. Well, let me just put into the chat
Yeah,
my
of course.
I think, I don't know how you're going to be uh able to bring the chat up for everyone.
Oh, I can put it in our show notes on the
Okay, and
podcast.
and let me just put in my blog. Now, my blog has is really embodies a lot of the things I'm saying here. So if anybody's interested in getting more deeply into what I do, because I can teach.blogspot.com, and my textbook, which is in 4 editions. This is the most recent edition.
Oh.
We definitely need you should, how do we disseminate that to our freshman writing program?
Well, and also let me say this: I'm more than happy to come to Kane and talk, especially to it, because I know so much. I wrote this book. This is a Hungarian author. See, the Hungarians come up all the time.
It's such a great book. It's such a great book.
Thank you. And I would be more than happy to come and talk about it. It's it's out of print now because everything is always shelf life with textbooks, but it's available on secondhand.
Oh, wonderful. So the flexible writer for everyone out there,
Yeah.
available wherever you get books. Dr. Susanna Rich, in the show notes, has shared her blog. So please head to her blog.
That's where a lot of this stuff is embodied, including things like I don't use praise in the classroom because that makes me the mother, and you're the one waiting for my praise. And then if I praise one person, then somebody on the other side of the room died because they didn't get the same praise, or not the same honest praise. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there about the dynamics. And I mean to thank you, because I know you're a student and you're shaking your head, and thank you. I mean, you're nodding your head. You're nodding your head. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm the student that will die inside if I don't get the praise.
Well, you know what,
Like, oh.
Amina, we would
We're a
talk
good
about
team, Amina.
we would talk about that. For example, if you brought a poem in, see, it's much harder to appreciate a poem and process than to praise it. I could say, oh, that's great, and I'm done. It's going to take a lot more to say, I noticed that you have a pattern of red things in your poem, and that picks up on, that picks up on anger for me. That's not praise. That's love. That's appreciation. Very different, harder. And that's what we did, because I don't want you to feel dependent on what I think.
Mm. Mm.
I think it's that we get scared of the 100-yard stare, the cold gaze that we get from
Well,
professors when they start
yeah,
to give the praise and they
um,
start, dropping little seeds of praise. We're like, oh, when is mine coming? How can I know that you love
yeah, and
me?
it's all power. It's all power BS in the classroom, and so it's an addiction too, Amina. I mean, look at it as an addiction. I've done a lot of work with addiction. It's an addiction, and it's better for you to feel lonely and unsure and really go through that feeling than to give yourself over to the momentary praise that you maybe have people pleased.
Yeah.
And trust me, I know people pleasing because, I'm a, I'm Olympic on that. But I've let go a lot of it.
And there's a lot of faculty who search for that praise. And that could be a whole other discussion from their colleagues the rest of their lives.
I mean, my praise right now is your energy. You're smiling, your voice is filled with energy. Amina, I swear I want to take you home. And to have
I want to come home with you.
To have Jan here, who's always been such a supportive colleague.
I just want to remind everybody that Susanna will become a poet laureate.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.
Well,
But I do think on the other side, I think sincere praise is good. False praise not.
Yes, but if I sincerely praise somebody in a classroom and I don't sincerely praise somebody, you could do it in private.
Yeah, I'm thinking in private.
But again, I would much rather have somebody say,
private.
I notice how you weaved your father's interviews here, and then you balanced it out. It takes more work. It takes more love.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, on that note, thank you, Susanna. Thank you for being our first guest. This was, so much to discuss, so much food for thought for everyone listening. I know those of us here are going to be thinking with your words a lot. So wonderful having you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful